So all of the triangle types can only have wings within their own center. And all of the hexad types with attachment wings are also only doubled up on their own center. So if you are an attachment type or have an attachment wing, you are double body, double heart, or double head.
Oh.
3 attachment types as like these 3 fundamental forces of the centers. And then you have these counter trinity of like whatever withdrawn, superego, and assertive mean in a certain distilled way. It's like the Hexad trinity or something like that.
Yeah.
The big hormone Enneagram.
Hi, I'm John Lukovich, sexual self-pres, 4-5 wing, 4-5-8 trifix.
Hi, I'm David Gray, self-pres sexual 9 with 1, 9-7-4 trifix.
What up? It's Emeka. I'm an 8-wing-7, sexual self-pres with 8-5-4 fixes.
Hi, I'm Nancy. I am a self-pres social 3, wing 4, with a 3-6-9 trifix. If you like our podcast, guys, make sure you go like and subscribe on the Apple Podcast app. And if you really like us, you should definitely leave us a review.
Welcome to Big Hormone Enneagram. We are taking on wings
mouth
today.
noises.
Sorry, I'm chewing something.
It's okay. You were just like,
Just learning from David.
welcome
Finally.
to Big Hormone.
I'm just attached to David.
Big mouth noises, hormone Enneagram.
Just
Big mouths.
Big
mouth
start flowing. But yeah, as always, we're plugging some plugs. So first of all, we got buy my book, please. Second of all, join Dark Arts Academy. We want to give an update on what's up with that.
We typed your girl of King Woman. What's her name? How do you say it? Do you know her
It's
name?
like Chris
Yeah.
Estevarni.
Something like She was
Is
really
it
interesting.
Christiana or something?
great.
Christiana, yeah. She's really interesting musician. I've used one of her songs on the end credits for one of these shows. And I think, if anyone who's been following the Amber Heard, Johnny Depp stuff, we've done a couple classes on that. We did a recent class on 4-wing 5 and all the different fixes. If you want to get an inside look on how to improve your typing skills, go to Enneagrammer.com. It's $19 a month. You can cancel at any time.
The 4-wing 5 episode for all of the many 4-wing 5s.
Yes,
Oh,
right.
yeah. I saw that. That was good. The 4-wing 5 special.
We should do a 5-wing 4 special because that's the second most
that'd be
popular
great.
type in the Enneagram.
Yeah. So it's just an episode analyzing several 4-wing 5s.
Yeah.
And hopefully less 9s think they're more after it.
They won't.
Yeah, they won't. Yeah, they'll just attach to.
Yeah.
They'll just adapt to whatever. But yeah, check out King Woman, but her other projects are Sugar High and Miserable and Nightcrawler and Dalmatian, and they're all really good. And then David's Trifix booklet. It's good for learning not just Trifix, but like the qualities of the types. And then I just started doing sort of spontaneously a study group from my book. I've been putting the links in the chat, but you can, if you want to join, and we're recording it so that people can watch the classes after. But it's been surprisingly good. I didn't expect it to go as well as it's been going. And so if you're interested, find me on either the Enneagram Universe group or hit me up on Instagram or email or through my website or something, and I can give you the links. And it's $15 donation, suggested donation for each class.
Is there I think last time we talked about if you would have a page on your website for this thing so that people can...
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, we can just link to the page
Oh, okay.
on your
I'll
website.
do that. I'll build
Yeah.
a page. That's great. Thank you. Anything else? Alexandra. Wings. What do you think, Alexandra?
What do I think? What?
About wings?
Oh.
Go through all 18
No.
subtypes.
Yeah. We want you to teach us everything
Yeah.
there is to know about wings right now.
We're just going to stay completely silent, on mute, give
Yeah.
you no feedback whatsoever.
Jesus
Talking
Christ.
to
Okay.
the
In
ether.
like 45
Yeah.
minutes. If you could fill up about 45 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
with
probably
only your
could fill
voice.
up. 45 minutes with just my voice. I would just need like an hour wind up. So you guys have
Okay.
been real
So
patient.
you want a whole hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah. This is really about narcissism. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I'll just say about wings, and my love, you can interject if something does come up. I was, putting you on the spot, but there's certain schools of the Enneagram that don't believe wings exist. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's true. It's like let's call out the schools so that we can
Yeah, who is it? Is
maximize-
it Chestnut?
Yeah,
think
she's
so,
one of
yes.
them.
Yeah.
She's one of them.
Who else?
Does narrative tradition do? I don't think they recognize that shit.
Yeah, I don't
Narrative thinks wings exist. I just don't think that they believe it impacts you highly.
Right.
Because
Which-
we barely talked about them. Like almost
And then-
never.
Does narrative believe that it's common for people to have balanced wings? Is that the thing?
Right.
Yeah,
was
I
gonna
think
say
I think I
there's-
heard that term a lot.
That was going to be my question as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some people that think they can change too. So
Oh,
we can
yeah.
Yes,
seen
it
that.
was balanced, and they believe that you can kind of go back and forth depending on what season of life you're in.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
that's the one I've seen. Is that in the early part of your life, you're one of your
Yep,
wings. And
that's
on
what
the
they
latter,
often
you're
say.
Another. That's just horrendous.
If you have balanced wings, you're mistyped. Yeah, there are schools that think that wings aren't a thing or don't exist, and I just consistently see people downplaying the importance of wing. I mean, for one thing, the most obvious thing about wing is it helps with accurate typing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, fucking wings are so. I mean, for anybody who's new to this shit, a wing is like one of the types adjacent to your type. So if as a 4, I could be a 4 with a 3 wing, meaning having a 3 influence in my 4ness, or a 5 wing having a 5 influence in my 4ness. They're both adjacent types, and they really, like, a wing type combination makes its own distinct energy. Like, if people use the term subtype for instinct and type combination, subtype is the type and the wing. It's a variation of the main type.
Yeah, it's so much so that when you compare types that, how would you say this? Like a 3-wing 4 with the 4-wing 3, so the same combination of core type and wing, there is a similarity in like energy, and like you might even confuse, superficially initially, you might get a similar impression about those two types. And so, for example, when I got into the Enneagram, it seemed pretty obvious to me that I was in the 7-8 area. And so I initially thought that I was 7-wing 8. And for a lot of times, for a lot of people, it might be difficult to distinguish a 7-wing 8 from an 8-wing 7 because there's that combination of 7-wing 8 is there. So,
Right.
yeah, like when we did those calls with people, the different type interviews, I think one of the things you remarked on is how different 4 with the 5 is from 4-wing 3, like experientially.
Right.
And how much you related to Jamira, who is a 5-wing 4, just like that overlap with 4 and 5.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think people of like you said, 4-wing 5 and 5-wing 4 are gonna like vibe more similar than 4-wing 5 versus 4-wing 3, because they're like a 4-wing 5 and 5-wing 4 are using the same like palette of whatever impressions or energies or object relational structures. And I think that's one interesting thing to get into is like what an attachment wing does versus a non-attachment wing for some like Hexad types, for example, or this kind of shit. But yeah, it definitely influences the expression and feel. I do think there is something. I don't think you balance your wings. I don't think you go through a season of life. But there is something I think about when you relax your ego structure, you can tap into your other wing more. Do you all agree with that?
Yeah, I could see that being.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm just trying to think if there is any sort of like experiential hit of that. It makes sense, but I'm not having a hard time finding like instances where I've been able to tap into 9 more.
I can definitely tap into ham being a fucking big ham.
Yeah.
And I attribute that to sometimes drawing on a 3-wing, but could just be some aspect of 4.
Maybe you're just a ham.
Yeah, just a big old fucking ham.
I also see it as just being able to tap into the other. Like for me, I have a frustration wing, And then, so I can use attachment and frustration. So I think accessing my 8 wing is really just being able to access rejection, just like no more attachment. I'm done being frustrated. Fuck off now.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I think-
that could be said with all of like, nobody has 2 attachment wings or 2 frustration wings or, you know, et cetera.
I think that's like really great way to put it is like, it's not so much necessarily accessing 3 as in when you add attachment to 4, you get the 4 wing 3 thing, the vibe,
Right.
the aesthetic, the whatever. Does that make sense, everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about that stuff for 8, and you know, because that's my type, I energetically feel a huge difference between 8 wing 9s and 8 wing 7s. Just because, well, energetically there's a huge difference. So it's like the attachment wing to 8 with the 9 wing, it pulls the 8 further into the body, but there's more of an attachment into the control. The stereotype of 8 fits 8 wing 9 far more than 8 wing 7.
I agree.
You know, just like that immovable force, that sort of boss thing where I've got to be in control of things. Like, you know, my sister's in self-pres 8 wing 9, and if you get around us, you're definitely going to feel that energy more. Not just because I'm a sexual type, but just because 8 wing 9 is just more attached to the position of control.
Really well put. Yeah. And 8 wing 7 has a bit more of like a
instigator, agent of chaos
Troublemaker.
type of thing. Yeah. It's more of like, I'm not attached to the position. I just want to be sort of like a lightning bolt.
I'm just obnoxious.
Not attached to being obnoxious.
No,
I'm
just-
obnoxious.
Just an agent of chaos.
Yeah, I've been exploring, and I haven't like done the full loop or whatever, the full circle, but I've been interested, and maybe we can all do this together, but I've been interested in looking at what happens to hexad types when they have attachment wings, because it's almost like they can only assert themselves because they still have like one antenna in the collective. Like I see it most obviously with 4 wing 3 and 4 wing 5, just because I have experience with a 4 wing 5, but it seems like 4 has the disdainful, I'm not like that thing. John is fully like, I don't even care. I don't even notice what I do relate to. But it seems like 4 wing 3s need to know what's going on in order to orient the push away. Does that make sense?
And it's more advertising with 4 with a 3.
It's more advertising, yes. Yeah. And then with 5 wing 6, it's still a thing. Like, what's everybody thinking? How do I branch? How do I differentiate myself from that? I'm sure it's not that conscious, but there's, I don't know, there's something in there.
No, that thing you said about advertising is interesting, because in order to advertise, you have to actually relate. So
Right.
It has to be something that people can actually recognize as different, whereas 4 wing 5 is not even, wanting to, it wants to just push on the separation to a degree that you're not even seeing anything you can relate to. So it's not advertising.
Right.
Yeah, and it's almost like, I'm sure this is not the true, I'm sure 4 wing 3s would disagree with this, but it almost feels to me like they don't get to assert their separateness unless it's being witnessed by something.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's good.
That's just the sense. And the same thing goes with 2-ness. Like the 2-ness doesn't get to like 2 as well unless their 2-ness is being witnessed by the 3 wing. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah.
Because I've noticed with 2 wing 1s, they're just like, they're definitely more hexaddy in the sense that they will just do what they feel that they need to do with no regard to like what anybody else thinks about it.
Yeah.
Or it's more behind the scenes, because it's not like there's no 3 wing display or having to be advertising it or that's interesting.
And then it'd be fun to figure out how I don't fully know how it works for 5 wing 6 and 7 wing 6, but there's something like, how does 5 push off of 6 and how does 7 push off of 6? I think just like in place of anxiety and wanting structure or whatever is a little confusing for me.
One thing I see with 7s with the 6 wing is the sort of idealizing the past. Like if 6 is sort of past and looking at precedent and so forth, 7 is taking positive outlook to some of that sort of past orientation. There's often almost a kind of conservative-ish.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean like political or something, but it's a kind of idealization of some bygone era when things were more positive in some way, whatever that looks like for a given 7 with a 6-wing person.
That's interesting because I have a 7 with 6-wing friend who's like a total maniac who was like, filmmaker, art scene, New York City character, cartoon, almost like a living cartoon guy. Not to say he's not a serious person, but he just had this bombastic, larger-than-life thing, and he was in men's group, and through dreams and men's group work and all this other stuff, he like moved out to the countryside and lives in a shack with his girlfriend doing art and hunting, like his, making food out of game that he actually hunted. It was like this whole like coming into manhood thing, but it's like it still has this like quirky, playful 7-wing 6 like cartoon of an old woodsman thing. Mm-hmm. But he's going for this. Yeah, it's kind of got a conservative. It's a conservative thing in a certain way. It's like, but it's got this kind of playful. I think he named his dog. It's like some kind of hunting dog. He called it like Hellbat Betty, which is like, it's just like such a like a goofy cartoon name.
Yeah.
It's like what you'd imagine like a cartoon huntsman's dog would be named.
Yeah, from the 1950s or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that I've noticed about 7-wing 6s is that, people on the surface see this exploratory, wild, kind of zany person. But my experience of them is that, at least in the relationships, that they're surprisingly committed. Like, you'll get a 7-wing 6 that'll stay with the same partner for like damn near a decade. I had that experience where it's like, this is the 6-wing that sort of like, I want to find something that's for sure, that's a foundational thing I can attach to, is a big deal for 7-wing 6s. And the other thing also that I noticed is that 7-wing 6s pull on that 6 kind of comedy. I need to relate to people through comedy. So most comedians who are 7s tend to be 7-wing 6s, not only because they're double head types, but because there's that need to get people to like me by being funny. Right. That's pulling into the attachment thing that 6s relate to people through humor.
Right.
Would you say that, and David, this is kind of calling back to you, but would you say that 7 has its forward momentum because it is tapped into like the 6 reactivity? Let's see. How do I say this? Because it does feel like 7-wing 8 is just its own bomb, like self-sustaining its own frustration. Mm-hmm. Whereas like 6 is or the 6-wing seems to like, to some degree, know what's going on or like feel the bad thing that has happened. And that is like pushing their move forward. I don't know if that makes sense.
mean, it's one way to say it is, I don't know if this is follows from what you just said, but 7 with a 6, you get more of the we energy of 6, whereas 7 with an 8 is much more individualistic and kind of doing their own thing. I don't know if that follows from where you were going, but
yeah, it's related. Okay.
Well, you're saying, Alexandra, that the 7-wing 6, the reactivity of the 6-wing influences the frustration of the 7 to propel them into shit, right? Into activity. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's something similar. Yeah, it's almost like the frustration happens to them via their 6-wing, and then they use 7 to escape it or to like try to get ahead of it. Mm-hmm. Something like that.
I think there's something to that.
Yeah, I haven't fully fleshed that out.
One thing to note just in general is with the wings is that they're always both hitting the harmonic group, the same harmonic group. And if we're thinking of, like we've said in past episodes, that the 4, 6, 8 reactive group is, bottom line is negative, right? Mm-hmm. So 7 is sort of blowtorch positive, and then you've got these 2 negative balances on either side, and that's kind of interesting. Just like you'd say, like with 9, there's this cloud 9, and then you've got 8 and 1 on both sides that are, just a completely different force. They're always like that. Like 4, on paper at least, is total dysfunctional creature, right? But then you've got 2 competency types, 3 and 5 on either side, etc.
which makes me super functional.
That's right. Exactly.
Is 9 the only one without 2 harmonic?
Oh, that could be. Actually.
The
Yeah, it
attachment
looks like it.
types. No, just the attachment types all have different harmonics, but it's only the hexad types of the specific harmonic group. Like, for example, 8, I'm sorry, I already messed it up. Yeah, 8 and 1, the two hexad body types only have positive wings.
Right.
2 and 4, the 2 hexad heart types only have competency wings. And then 5 and 7, the 2 hexad head types only have reactive wings.
Right.
But it's like the core of each center needs something else. I don't know. There's something kind of interesting about that.
Yeah.
But the hexad versions of that still need, as something. I don't know.
It's interesting, heart and then the connection to competency, because heart energy is, a kind of liquid energy, right? And then
It's
competency.
incompetent.
Right, exactly. And so it's got that balance again of something more firm and capable. And then what would you say with the head types?
Yeah, I wouldn't know how to explain head types or body types even. Like, why is the core body type a positive type?
I think, with the head types, it's reactive.
Right.
So reactive is kind of, I don't think reactive in the sense that we use it in the harmonic is irrational, but it is something getting outside of like the gridded thoughtness. You know what I'm saying? Like, it like breaks up the like computer processing, something. It gives it some flavor.
Yeah, there is a kind of realism that is a part of the reactive group.
Right.
Yeah.
And then positive, I think like what positive really is like it's kind of like glossing over things to keep things moving. So there's like the inertia element. Like, like 7 makes things blurry, so the 8 can just like discharge, right? Like just can move forward. For the 1, the 2 wing gives it my intentions are good, so I don't have to think about what I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then 9, 9's just like let's just smooth that over. Right. Let's put some butter there to just keep it moving.
That's a good point for the gut types, because gut is king. So you have these 8 and 1 who are sort of justifying their agenda with positive outlook sort of messages. So you get like, oh, we're gonna build a wall, keep the message, like just
positive,
just fantasy positive outcomes for everyone. And type 1's gonna say, oh, we're gonna change the world, so that you people can buy into these outlandish fucking visions of change.
Right.
Keep it going.
Part of where I was going with the head types and reactivity equating to a kind of realism is that being in your head is a kind of
Separate reality.
Yeah, it's a separate reality. And so reactivity is kind of forcing you to look at what actually is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, there's something to be said about the fact that the triangle types are kind of like holding down each of the centers, but that it's also each of the triangle types that are disconnected from, their own like integral way of, of using their own center. And so the hexad wings are kind of like, I'm sure you guys have talked about this already, but like overcompensated ways to, like for 9 wants to keep it moving, but it doesn't move at all. So instead it has 1 and 8 that really keep the momentum going. So it's like the triangle types are flanked by 2 like swordsmen that can really deliver the thing, but then deliver the job or whatever, get the job done. But then each of the hexad types almost like need a reminder of the original purpose. You see where I'm going? I have no direction with this.
Can you say that again? Original purpose?
Yeah, like if each of the triangle types are essentially disconnected from their own way of doing things. Like I'm obviously using 9 as an example because I'm a 9. Like I am outsourcing my internal sense of like how to move through the world, how to like physically move myself through the world. And so 1 overdoes its way and 8 overdoes its way of doing it. But the goal of the 9 is to like move, right? Or the body center is to move and protect boundaries and all that stuff. So then there's something to be said that both 1 and 8 only have positive wings. Like as a reminder of that, like keep it moving forward. I don't know.
I think I see what you're saying.
Yeah, there's something there. Like we could explore how that happens in the heart center and the head center.
Yeah, I see something there with at least with 8. There can be kind of like doubling down on negativity, and coming up for air can be either the 7 or the 9 wing, where there is some kind of like things could be better outcome that I can push towards. Like it can really pull you back into, this is the reason why I'm pushing. Yeah, that is almost like an escape valve for the 8 fixation. Is that, there, at least for my 7 wings, that there is a better outcome in the future that is worth pushing for. And I can see with the 9 wing where it's like, oh, I'm connected to what this situation and what everyone needs, and I hold a position I'm pushing for an outcome that's going to benefit what I'm attached to. Yeah, I can see how that it's almost like this is an escape valve to justify or even give more purpose to the pushing.
That's what I think it is. I think it's almost like a hope. If positive outlook is just basically giving itself hope that things are going to work out, I'm going to meet my objective, I'm going to be okay. Then I think what positivity does for 1 and 8 is just give it that sort of like North Star to keep going.
Yeah, the funny thing is, as negative as I am, I've had some outrageous episodes of positive outlook that come up where I'm just in denial of the negative situation that I've caused. Like, I used to be a valet, and they had a rule, like I valeted a fancy hotel in Chicago, and they had a rule that if 2 strikes and you're fired. I knew this. Like if you even scrape once, anything. Like the first one I had, I just slightly scraped the side door on a BMW, and so that was my first strike. The second one, I was partying. I had a house party, and I stayed up till 6, 7 in the morning. I start working at 7:30. Went to work, still hungover, and I fucking took a BMW SUV and just rammed my driver's side into a fucking like tower beam or something. It was horrible. So I get done. I'm feeling terrible about it. But the next time I was coming into work, my manager said, "Hey, you need to meet with me." And I legit sit there and thought, I think he wants to give me a raise. I think.
Yeah, there it is.
I think I'm gonna get a raise today. Like,
that's some full-on 7 right there.
Unconditional positive self-regard with that. Like,
completely didn't think, oh yeah, I'm getting fired. I got fired. OD thought it was so hilarious. Like, dude, you just crashed the car. What makes you think that they're gonna give you a raise? So I gotta watch out for my positive outlook, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, I mean, part of like because it's not the core, the positive outlook wing is like my ego agenda is good, or
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, the world's a good place or something like that, but it's I got to keep this agenda going to myself. Like I got to keep, both like, so if 9 is like being, 8 and 1 are like the fundamental ego agendas. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're the body center flavor of frustration or rejection.
Yeah.
Like they're the prime, like you got like the attachment is like almost like trying to find a homeostasis in a certain way. It's trying to be attached and trying to like, even though it's attachment to disconnect, which is the ego activity, the aim is a lack of activity in a certain way. It's to just get the goods. Whereas rejection, frustration are more of like an agenda.
Yeah.
And it's more of asserting one's own agenda rather than attachment, which is sort of adapting to make something fit that's out there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's like attachment. All attachment in a sense is receptive.
Right.
And then 8 and 1 are representing these thrusts.
Right.
And so Yeah, both of them give hope and lubrication to those ego agendas, the attachment or the positive outlook wings. It's just like, how do I lubricate my agenda? How do I resist? Oh, I just fucked this car. I must be getting a raise.
Yeah.
They want to congratulate me.
It's like it's crazy to think about, and this is something that I've been paying more attention to the last couple of years, of just how much I have a reality distortion on if I decide to on some negative shit. Like I can just decide that it's not happening, and just like I'm just gonna power through it. I'm gonna be the one that I'm gonna be the exception of this terrible thing. It's crazy when it happens because then I'll come out of it, and so that's just like having a frustration wing, where it's also a fantasy frustration wing. So like there's this with the 8, there's this I can latch onto a fantasy that I created in my head, and I feel like I'm going to make it happen. And sometimes it works, but sometimes it's just a way for me to completely deny the negative thing that's happening.
Yeah, that's so good.
Because my 8 sister is she's got a 9 wing, and it like she does not have this pattern at all. Like you know, like 8 wing 9 is pretty stubborn, and they can have their outcomes that they can push through, and she's much more I guess more I see like she gets more done, maybe because she's just self-pressed, but like I feel like 8 wing 9s once they lock onto something, it's like get out the way.
Right.
And she seems more grounded in reality than I do, because I can imagine things and get caught up in certain fantastical ideas of what I think I can make happen.
Well, it's like Trump, 8
Yeah.
or 7, right? It's going to be great. No, really, it's going to be amazing.
Right. We're going to storm the Capitol and overturn the election.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 it's going to be beautiful.
And I think that's a really good point that you know, like when you said earlier that 8 wing 9 can kind of be more classic 8 because yeah, like that 9 wing gives them the attachment stubborn, this is gonna work.
Yes.
Like, and I'm attached to the thing, whereas the 7 wing gives the 8 more of the mercurial, bendable, like, all right, this is not working, next thing, you know?
Right,
Yeah.
right,
And so some people just can't conceive of 8 outside of 8 wing 9.
right.
Even though they think they're thinking about 8 wing 7.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like they can't see like just the kind of like the random trickster chaos
Oh,
type
sure.
as being 8. They're like, oh, 8 is the CEO with the cigar in his mouth, like
Yeah.
boss bitch, whatever.
The banker.
And it's also worth saying that generally the types that have the attachment wings are more common by
For
far.
sure. Yeah.
That's right.
So like there's way more 8 wing 9s than 8 wing 7s. And so what most people, their experience of 8 is just coming from the perspective of 8 wing 9. And so most 8 wing 7s seem like 7s to people. That's generally what the impression people have.
Yeah, true.
Right.
Or they confuse their 7 wing for having a 7 fix.
Yeah.
There was something else I was going to point out that 9s, okay, so all of the triangle types can only have wings within their own center. And all of the hexad types with attachment wings are also only doubled up on their own center. So if you are an attachment type or have an attachment wing, you are double body, double heart, or double head.
Interesting.
And so the hexad type that borrows from the other hexad wing is not only individuated from the sense that it is not attached either in its own core type or in its wing, but it's also borrowing from a different center, which gives it in this like extra flavor of nuance. So you're not just, you see what I'm saying? So it's not just that you're the hexad version of 8, but you're the 8 with a head type wing. So there's this extra like magic tool you can use. Whereas like, because if people are seeing 8 wing 9 as the traditional 8, it's because it's the double body 8.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's a really good
That's a really
point.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to there's something there as to like the types, and this is something to discuss, like the types that are, you know, crossing over into the other center, like so 4 wing 5, 5 wing 4, 7 wing 8, 8 wing 7, and then I guess it's 2 wing 1, 1 wing 2, and how those types can fall under the radar a little bit because you're not getting a strong hit of that center. Like 5 wing 4, 4 wing 5, even like when we're typing people who are of that type, it's hard to see like you're seeing 4 and 5, and you might confuse that. Is this person a 5-wing 4 or a 4-wing 5? Like, it's harder to recognize the core type. Same thing goes with 7-wing 8s, 8-wing 7, 1-wing 2, 2-wing 1. There's not as many exemplars for those, but like, you see what I'm saying, where you have that crossover between centers, the core type is not as easy to recognize.
Alexandra, you had a light up.
Well, especially also, I just noticed this too, because I have the Enneagram like up on my screen just to look at it. 7-wing 8, 8-wing 7 are also a double assertive thing.
Right.
So it's it's like even more here. It's the hexad individuation from 9 that is taking from a different center, but is also double assertive. And the same thing goes with the other hexad, double hexad types. 1-wing 2, 2-wing 1 are both compliant, and 4-wing 5, 5-wing 4 are both withdrawn.
Ooh.
So there's going to be this like extra dose of like, we are saturated, but also not attached, but also borrowing from a different center.
It's kind of like a hexagram, a 6-pointed figure, because you got the 3 attachment types as like these 3 fundamental forces of the centers. And then you have these counter trinity of like whatever withdrawn, superego, and assertive like mean in a certain distilled way. Like these it's like the hexad trinity or something like that.
Yeah. That's interesting, yeah, because you got the 7-wing 8 or 7-8 area being the assertive hexad, and then 4-5 area being the withdrawn, and the 2-1 being the compliant.
Yeah, and the super ego. So it's almost like, like that energy is not diluted. And obviously we can look at both Emeka and John for this, because you guys are both the double hexad, whatever's like, John is like doubly withdrawn, and he has, there's no attachment in his core type that's telling him I need to like reference my withdrawnness from something else, or like reference my heart center from something else. So it's just double like, fuck you guys, I'm out of here. Right. Whereas Emeka, your story with the valet is just like immediately a double assertive thing. Just this like, this will work out for me. I'm gonna get a raise probably. Like, it's just like a double dose of like, it goes my way.
It's actually insane to believe. I actually believe that, like, legit. Like, legit felt good walking in.
That must have been one heck of an experience for your manager.
This cocky motherfucker walking in, crash car, like, man, I'm ready for my raise, sir. You know?
Because I was like, why do you think
happening? You're firing me?
I was like, why do you think he's calling me in today? And I was like, I think because he wants to give me a raise. And OD was like, okay.
All right, bro. Whatever you need to believe.
Yeah, that's dangerous, man. I need to be checked.
I want to think more on this like negative trinity, because there's something interesting there. Like, what, like David, like how would you describe the 3 fundamental forces of the attachment?
The 3 fundamental forces of attachment. What are you?
Or like what?
I mean, I could go somewhere with that, but I
go
don't know
somewhere with 9, 3, and 6. Just like what they mean in the universe.
In the universe. Okay.
Philosopher of the universe.
Yeah.
You're up.
Well, shit. There's a bunch of them. Let's see. Because I've got the whole universe. So let's see. I mean, part of 3 represents, for one thing, to me, individuation. Again, it's my elementary school thing of, a single 3, 2 3s, and 3 3s, right? And so you've got that sort of, if you're talking at some abstract atomic level, 3 is the individual, the individuation as a potential. And 6 is seeing the contradictions and the opposing forces. Like 3 is just the original individual. 6 is coming into the mind, the consciousness of the duality of the universe and existence. And then 9 is the looking for the unification and harmonization, sort of overdoing you might say, the reconciling force, if we're talking like law of three. I don't know if that's kind of covers where you were going, but
Yeah, because I wonder, there's something about three elements that make up personhood or something like that. And then superego, the 2-1 chasm, is like idealization itself, if that makes sense, or like some kind of, it's like God or like something removed. And then withdrawn is like identity, or it's another kind of removal. And then the assertive is also another kind of removal, because it's like my impenetrable self, or my impenetrable, like, agenda. Nothing will make me realize I'm not getting a raise today. like nothing's getting in here. There's certain like, I don't know. There's like it's like its own reverse cosmos in some. Well, I'd think more about it, but it just seems like interesting to like, if we were to map these things according to these like two triads, there might be some interesting dialectic that comes out of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, like what if you put like, all right, let's call the 2-1 space like the ideal or something like that.
Yeah.
What happens when you combine attachment with ideal? You know what I'm saying? Like, or David's 3 is individuation. When you like, if you have a 2 with a 3 wing or something like that, it's like love ideal with something about the individual being the vessel of love coming into the world. So it's like that. I'm the loving one. You know what I'm saying? Something like this?
right, with 2 of the 3, and that's what you get with that specific subtype, is there's more sort of claiming of the role, kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas like people who are 1-wing 2 or 2-wing 1, even though they're more in a sense individuated because there's less attachment, there's, especially with those combinations, you get somebody who just really objectively thinks that they're just objectively representing God.
Yes. Yes. The right way to do things. Yeah.
Right. So
no, that's interesting. I think you can build, because I think the Riso Hudson books were the only ones that really went into descriptions for the core type wing combinations, right?
I think so.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I just wonder if we could sort of reconfiguring or naming these energies, that once you combine these, you can come up with better names and better descriptions based on,
Because every fucking granola eating 9 thinks they're a bohemian 4-wing 5.
Right. Right.
Bohemian is somebody that wears like scarves on their head and sometimes paints or something like that.
It's generally like a 9-1
Did I offend you,
too.
Alexandra?
No.
Sometimes paints. That killed me. Dabbles in it.
Slowly.
And thoughtfully.
Yeah, but I think in our next, I think we should do this as a series. Like, just,
Yeah.
the next episodes, like get the body types with the wings or something, and then eventually down the road we could like interview people, because like from our first interviews, like we didn't have a 7-wing 8, for example.
Right. Right.
So to get like, more of that shit would be good.
Yeah, just how different those types can be. I think part of the reason people can be so skeptical of wings is because, well, I mean, first of all, people aren't being accurately typed. But if you see two people that are 7s and there's a huge difference in energy, it's like, what the fuck is that? Like, why is this 7 so? Why is this 7 so much more abrasive and not giving a fuck? And this other one seems to care more about consistency and people's opinions and shit like that. What's going on?
Right.
I have a 7-wing 6 friend, and me and Brian consistently will like leave hanging out with them and be like, "Do you think they're okay? Good? Like, I'm a little worried about them." They said some things came out of their mouth today where it's just like, you worry about 7-wing 6s, man.
Manic.
They have a weird mix.
Yeah. Double head type.
Very strange.
That's one thing that's been really cool, and from a typing perspective, how different. Let's just look at 5, for example. There's a huge difference in energy between the double head energy and a 5 that's pulling from the heart center.
Right.
Even if you weren't watching the video, like you were just hearing them talk, like it's not just because it's double withdrawn with 5 wing 4, but it's a type that can fall under the radar. And I experienced the same thing with 4 wing 5, where they're not fully in their home center, and so you're not getting a full hit of head type, and you might confuse it for something else. And that's kind of a clue to, okay, this isn't a double head type. This is a type that's pulling from a center that's not their own. And the same thing goes for 7 wing 8 and 8 wing 7. Some 7 wing 8s could be easily mistyped as gut types.
Totally.
That solidity is there. And then some 8 wing 7s can really fly under the radar because they're so quick and not as invested in being in control that you might not see the core 8 stuff.
Yep.
Anything
I
else?
think it would be interesting if we want to like structure this moving forward to like go into the difference between like the attachment types with their wings, because I kind of see the attachment types as like, I'm sure people will be upset with me for saying this, but like I see them as almost like the vulnerable types, the vulnerable types of each center, and so they need, like I said, those two swordsmen or something like that on either side of them to like help them navigate or whatever. Like I feel like a 9 without the help of 8 or 1 would just be like lost in the sauce all day. And so they need I'm not that, but I'm a little less lost because I have a 1 wing that wants to just be mad.
And specific too. Like that's what 1 brings. You know what I mean? It's like you want to say your argument or why that person's wrong or whatever.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
I'm just chill all the time, right, John?
Yes, honey.
So
Yes.
that's a battered man right there.
Help! Another 4 wing 5.
Another 4 and 5 in an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
That's it. Amber Alexandra.
Yep.
Has she pooped on the bed yet?
It was the cat.
Okay.
Just the cat.
Anyway,
It's a big cat
As I
turd.
was saying.
Anyway, how to differentiate like the help that having a hexad wing will give an attachment type. Maybe like we could come up with some, or like think about why that is necessary for attachment types to only have hexad wings. Because like thinking of me having like a 6 wing, nightmarish. What would I do ever?
If I had a 6 wing, I would have no ability to be any real human other than a robot.
Right. And so it's like 9, 6, and 3s are the conduits for the sort of like specified objectives of all the hexad types and wings. But it's still like an open channel. Like if we think of like human design with like open whatevers, that's kind of what the attachment types feel like. And then we could go into the hexad types with attachment wings and then the hexad types with hexad wings and just kind of play off of that.
Yeah. And, I think one thing that's been coming up in the follow-up calls, coaching sessions that I've done is just helping people explore the objective, not the objective, the object relations affect of their wing and how that changes, what that adds to their core type. I just recently had a call with a 9 wing 8 who just really expressed like how much detachment and disconnection he felt from everything. And it was a very specific, not just the typical 9 wing 1, oh, I'm depressed and I'm wilting. It was more like I feel really cut off. So we started getting into the rejection, like how much. So I've just been exploring how, even for myself, how much I'm accessing fantasy, frustration, and how much of a role that plays into the way I move in life. And I think for a lot of people, to make this shit useful to them, yeah, you might have this wing, but what are the implications for your own sort of self-work and to see how that object relations is influencing just the way your core type moves. And so I think that's at least something that I've been seeing, like, man, fantasy frustration is a big theme for me. Not just because I have a 7 wing, but I also have a 4 fix. And so there's a lot of, seeing the shiny new object that I think is going to be like the ideal. And then a couple months later, it's like, oh, it wasn't. It's all something I created in my head. And so just exploring frustration as a secondary, strategy that's working in me is something that I've gotten a lot out of.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely relate to that, having my own like frustration wing. It doesn't go into the fantasy thing, but I definitely for me, it almost feels like I use my frustration wing to detach and reattach as I fucking see fit.
Yeah.
In order to keep that like attachment to disconnect going, it's like very, very like hyper specific things that I will pick up on and then use to say like, I'm not.
Yes, being seen and supported.
Far away. Yeah, I'm like not being. I can't attach because it's like not all perfectly aligned yet. Versus like 9 wing 8 that really just like really feels like more of just like a wall that comes down. Like there isn't a fine edge. There isn't like a fine point.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to explore, like to get better descriptions for these chord type plus wing. To like, for example, with 6 with the 7 wing, it's not just like, I can't figure out what to do. There's always the 7 wing brings in that frustration fantasy of, well, maybe this thing is going to be the thing. And then you drop it and move on. Maybe this thing is going to be the thing. And you just like that manic quality of just jumping around from this is going to be the thing, that's the for sure thing. And it's not solid. And so you can get a better description of like what the types are up to when you start looking at the object relations, what the object relations of the wing influence. And I think all the types, we can kind of restart, get a better view of what the types are up to now that we have all these tools with object relations and hexad versus attachment. We can come up with much better descriptions than we already have.
Yeah,
I agree.
All right, well, I'm a little socialed out. Anything else about wings?
We can save it for another episode.
Yeah. What do you guys?
John's like, please release me.
Let me
even
die.
Even just like the structure of, I know we talked about like the type structure of each of these types, and there was like some diagram that you guys had gotten from some Riso Hudson thing or whatever, and it'd be cool if we could somehow figure out how the fuck do wings work from a type structure point of view, like where does it fit?
Right.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool too. There was something else I was going to. I guess just pointing out that all 5 of us have a frustration element. We either have a wing, and then there's King John, King Frustration Boy, with a frustration core.
Frustration core. King of hatred.
King.
Frustration.
King of yes, but not like that.
Yeah, I've been really thinking about that recently. Just the frustration, a frustration object of like, oh, this is going to be great. I was like, no, that's not it. Oh, this is going to be great. No, that's not it.
So I think we should do episodes on rejection and frustration with Courtney.
Yeah.
But something that Courtney and I talked about with frustration, and I think this is really great, where it's like there's so something failed and I didn't get what I needed.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to there's like a giving up of hope in it. And there's like I'm doing it myself. But because I'm doing it myself from this like point of view of like developmentally young, the thing I'm doing itself, whether it's like getting my needs met like 7, or 1 finding this ideal structure or whatever, or 4 feeling their identity is related to the world or something, it's all inadequate. And so there's like an insecurity around it. And so it's like, like 4 gets very touchy about their identity.
Yeah.
Because there's a little bit of like I'm fucking doing the best I can with this shit. Like, don't fucking come near it. There's like an insecurity there.
Yeah.
And for 1, it's like, oh, don't criticize me or criticize my view of things because I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah.
Or for 7, it's like, when you're like, hey, maybe those extra drugs aren't the way to do it. Like, wait, you don't understand me. I'm going to go. Bye.
Yeah.
David.
I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, we need people. We've been doing attachment stuff for so much that it's time to get back to where
we're tired of this attachment domination, this bullying.
The bullying, yeah.
this.
We spent a
You'll
year.
never get it anyway, so
We spent a year making sure that people could say that we don't care about attachment types. Now we are.
They're
done
still
with
gonna say it.
attachment.
They're gonna say I held a gun to your head.
Back to Hexad. Now we're doing rejection and frustration.
Now I can be confused.
All right. I
Yeah,
have to
for
go.
real.
John says
All right, y'all.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Talk to you later.